Today, we're going inside a prison system that the U.S. government itself has found to be unconstitutional. We're going to look at official reports and even smuggled footage to understand how a system can fail so catastrophically. We have to start right here. This quote, it's not from an activist group or a news report. This is the official finding from the United States Department of Justice, a direct and frankly damning assessment that really sets the stage for everything we're about to see. And a huge part of the problem comes down to this one number. Alabama's prisons are operating at nearly 200% of their designed capacity. Just imagine that. A space built for 100 people is trying to hold almost 200. You can see how this extreme overcrowding becomes a key driver for all the violence and chaos. So yeah, this isn't just about poor conditions. We're talking about a full-blown constitutional crisis. The Department of Justice took the pretty extraordinary step of suing the state of Alabama, arguing that the conditions in its men's prisons violate the Eighth Amendment's protection against cruel and unusual punishment. So you might be wondering, why don't we see more of this on the news? Well, filmmakers who've tried to get access have described these prisons as being like black sites. You know, those secret facilities where the normal rules just don't apply. The state heavily restricts access for journalists, which lets them completely control the narrative. And this, of course, becomes the central question. If official access is totally blocked, how can we ever know what daily life is really like inside? Well, the answer came from a place the state couldn't control: contraband cell phones. In a pretty incredible effort, incarcerated men risked their own safety to document the truth. The documentary, The Alabama Solution, is actually built on years of this smuggled footage, giving the world a raw, unfiltered look at the system's failures. And the data more than backs up the horrific visuals. I mean, just look at this chart from the DOJ's own complaint. Homicides absolutely skyrocketed. To put it in perspective for you, in 2018, the homicide rate in Alabama's prisons was more than 7 times the national average for state prisons. 7 times! This slide, it puts a face on those statistics. These aren't just numbers. These are the specific, brutal ways people died, as detailed right in the federal lawsuit. Each one of these represents a human being who died while in the state's care. And for every death, you've got countless other acts of life-altering violence. In just 1 year, there were 278 assaults so serious they required hospitalization. This chart shows you just how widespread the problem is, facility by facility. It's a daily, pervasive threat. And the violence isn't just between prisoners. This is what happened to Stephen Davis. Officers claimed he threatened them, forcing them to use deadly force. But his mother, Sandy Ray, she heard a very different story from witnesses, that he yielded immediately, holding only a plastic knife, before being beaten beyond recognition. The state never pressed charges against the officers involved. So, with the federal government suing and the world starting to see what's going on inside, how did Alabama respond? They called their plan the Alabama Solution. And this just perfectly illustrates the fundamental disconnect. On one side, you have the Alabama Attorney General publicly saying he doesn't think there's a systemic problem. On the other side, you have the U.S. Department of Justice stating the exact opposite, that the problems are, in fact, pervasive and systemic. You can't get much further apart than that. So here's the crucial point. The state's official solution isn't about systemic reform. It's about construction. Governor Kay Ivey announced a plan to build 3 new mega prisons and, controversially, planned to use $400 million in federal COVID-19 relief money to help pay for it. And get this, at the very same time the state was pushing to build more prison space, it was becoming much, much harder for people to actually get out. Parole rates plummeted by a staggering 72%. It really makes you ask the question, is the goal to solve overcrowding or to ensure the new prisons are filled? But building new prisons isn't the only idea on the table. In the face of this crisis, other people have proposed very different paths forward. The incarcerated people themselves organized. In 2022, they launched a peaceful, statewide labor strike, and they weren't just demanding better conditions. They were protesting a system of forced labor that provides an estimated $450 million in value to the state, sometimes for wages that were set all the way back in 1927. Outside the walls, advocates like Rosalind Warren have pushed for another vision entirely, one that focuses on fixing people and systems, not just on constructing new buildings. It's a solution that's rooted in technology and rehabilitation. This alternative plan has 4 clear pillars. First, expand education to every single incarcerated person. Second, make communication with families affordable and transparent. Third, use technology like AI to detect violence and mental health crises before they escalate. And fourth, use data to support staff and provide public transparency. It's a vision for a system of rehabilitation, not just punishment. We'll end with this powerful message from one of the organizers inside. He argues that the secrecy and the lack of accountability that allowed this crisis to grow in Alabama, well, they exist in prisons all across the country. And it leaves us with a critical question. What is being done in our name, just beyond our view?